All right.
It is our thing. And we're like, all right, all right.
All
We always say, all
right.
right. All right. So we are starting off with another episode. We have Shelly Vaughn on again, and we're going to be talking about crucial conversations. I think this is probably one of the episodes that everybody has been wanting to listen to. So before
No
we
pressure.
get into this content, though, Shelly, we
kidding.
do have a question for you that we'll start off
All
with.
right, let's go.
Okay, Shelly. So I really like this question. I probably wrote it. No,
You did write it.
ChatGPT probably wrote it, and I probably
Mhm.
copied and pasted it. But Shelly, if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Girls just want to have fun.
Oh, yes.
That is a
Love that
great
one.
one.
Like you just have to go with what comes to mind. That's it, right? Like I love my pals, and you
Yeah.
know, life is too short to take it too seriously. Girls just want to have fun.
I like that.
I love that.
So time out. If the ESC had a theme song, what do you think it would be, Lindsay?
Oh, you don't want to ask me. I don't know like song names.
What would you
Okay.
say?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
Okay.
you're going to ask the question, but you wouldn't be able
Well,
to
that's why I
answer
was
it?
going to ask the question so nobody could ask it to me. How about You've Got a Friend in Me?
Oh, I
I
like
love
that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I'm playing the lyrics
Yeah,
in my head.
For
Okay.
sure. And then I think about our mission, vision, like it fits. It
Yeah.
totally
Mhm.
fits.
Yeah. I did sit in interviews one time, and that was one of the questions. If you had a theme song, what would it be?
I personally think that you can tell a lot about someone's personality based on their Spotify or like iTunes playlist.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
think you
you've
can
given
know.
me some good recommendations for mine.
I take it very seriously.
Yeah. Yep.
When I give song recommendations, I'm dead serious, and you better have listened to it and be able to report back on the way that song makes you feel.
And 90% of the time, it's going to be Taylor Swift.
You betcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, Shelly. So you've been in leadership for a long time, and you probably have had lots of crucial conversations, right?
Yes. More than sometimes I would like to admit.
Right. So how do you prepare for a conversation that you know is going to be difficult?
So I think first and foremost, it is intentionally like thinking about what I hope to gain out of that conversation, right? What are we trying to solve? What are we trying to fix? How are we trying to move forward? And so really thinking about what is it I hope to gain. And then when you do that, you can form some questions that will help you really listen to understand, right? And be rooted in the authenticity and genuineness, because even when you have to have the really hard conversations, that's really what it comes down to. So being intentional and preparing for I looked this book up actually right before the podcast started, because that it made me think of this book, and I heard that, and when I heard it, I was like, yeah, that is kind of what I do. And after reading the book Super Communicators, I highly recommend. It really helped me draw more attention to doing that when I prepare. I think another thing is just knowing that I don't have to fix everything. I think sometimes there's this notion of, you're in a position of leadership, so it's your job to fix. Sometimes people just want to be heard.
Oh, I love that, because I feel like, oh, I can fix that. I'll come up with a solution, right? Like, because I think in education, that's what we try to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that's been a lot of parenting advice lately, is
Yes.
asking your kids, do you want a solution, or are you just trying to
Mhm.
vent right now?
Yeah.
I don't do a good job at that.
No, I
Yeah.
don't either.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my brain is like, next time I'm going to try
Yeah.
to remember to do that.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I've heard people say that, like in any walk of life, right? To just and like you said, with your kids, with coworkers, with your spouse, to say, okay, do you want me to fix this for you? Do you want me to offer solutions, or you just want me to listen?
Because on the flip side of
Mhm.
that, when you come to somebody with a crisis and they're like, oh, you can just do this, this, and this, and you just wanted to be heard, sometimes that's really deflating. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
True.
obviously I would not be coming to you if I had thought of those solutions, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I think sometimes for the receiving end, like remembering what it feels like on that end, to almost feel like someone's not paying attention to how
Mhm.
important this is to you.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And the other thing I'll say is, and I think this is probably, I don't know, for me as a female, right? We are emotional beings by nature. We just are, right? And so I think being real about me before I enter a conversation, like, am I in a good headspace to do this?
Yeah.
And if I'm not, then and I can, and I'm able to, maybe I should reschedule this,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I also need to be honest with myself about, am I ready to tackle this in a way that's in the best interest of all parties?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think that's a really good point, because I think sometimes you just want to tackle it right away to get it out of the way. But sometimes it's better to take a day or 2 to kind of sit and, like, marinate on it, and then you come up with a solution on your own as to what's gonna be best, and you've calmed down.
Yeah, I mean, and
Mm,
being emotional is not a bad thing, right? Because it causes us to really think deeply about everybody involved,
Mhm.
but making decisions in a state of emotion, not good.
mhm.
Yeah.
So, this is not a question that we gave you ahead of time, so we can always cut this if it's too on the spot. But so this question was about preparing for those conversations, and I don't know if you've had situations like this. I hypothesize you have. But people who are listening, when you have a situation, so preparing, you've probably had it on the calendar, right? And you both know this invitation is there. What about situations when someone just comes barreling through your door at 100 miles an hour? You know what I mean? What's your advice on, because saying, "Can we
Mhm.
reschedule that?" may not be the best first sentence that
Sure.
you say to somebody in that situation. So, if you're equipped on the spot to answer that, that would be.
Sure, sure. I mean, I would say first and foremost, listen to understand. Just just check yourself. You're not interjecting, you're not listen for understanding because they need to be heard. I think secondly, especially if somebody's fired up, right,
Mhm,
is trying to think about how can I de-escalate this? And oftentimes it's by asking those follow-up questions and getting clarity about what it is they actually want out of the conversation and helping lead them to that point of being able to articulate to you what it is they're after.
mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, helping
Right, because when you're activated at that level,
Yep,
I would argue that you don't even want a solution at that point. You
right.
are just out for blood. I mean, for no
Mhm.
lack of a better term, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think that those situations without destroying the relationship, because you could
Yes.
do significant
Very
damage in
yeah,
those
very
moments
true.
too, even though they're normally short, brief moments, unexpected moments that
Mhm.
those crucial conversations pop up in.
And I would also say, sometimes it's great just to say, "I please give me time to
Mhm.
gather facts, and I promise you I will get back to you by" and give them a specific time, right?
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
then they know that you took it seriously, you're gonna look into it, and you're gonna follow up.
I
Um
like that. Okay, Shelly, so what role does trust play in these tough conversations?
So, well, it's huge, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's the foundation of everything. Communication, relationships, I say that in a position of leadership, regardless of where you are, those things are foundational. And in order to have effective communication and build quality relationships, it's trust.
Mm.
And so that's just about doing what you said you're going to do. It's that simple, right? um, Not over promising and following through. So if I said I'm gonna get back to you about something, I do, and it could also mean being vulnerable, right? And to say
Mm.
I don't know, I really don't know, but I'm gonna try and figure this one out, or can we figure it out together? I think showing that vulnerability is huge in developing trust.
So, and I have a feeling that sometimes you have to have, and not maybe crucial conversations, but just difficult conversations with people maybe you haven't had a chance to establish that trust with, like when we're engaging with new people or things like that. And again, this might be too on the spot, but are there ways that you grow trust like in moments? You know what I mean? So like you're sitting across the table from a superintendent that you're just meeting. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Like, or what are indicators of trust to you on the other side of it when you're talking to people?
That's a great one, and I think just be by nature, if I think about my role in school leadership, right? Um, You can tell a lot from a person's conversation when it's a lot of we and us
Mhm.
and not I and me. And so it's not so much what I need or what, it's more about what can we do for kids. And
Mhm.
so that is an indicator right away that helps me trust someone. I think another way to engage in a conversation with someone new and to build that trust is to ask those clarifying questions like, help me understand what you're saying here.
Mhm.
Here's what I heard. Is this accurate? Is this what you need or what you're thinking? But then also just to pull those examples of, hey, here's how we've worked with districts in the past. This is what's worked. Isn't what, but I think I hear you saying, and this might be a good fit. And so just letting them know that you're genuinely listening to what they are saying is huge, not
Yeah.
coming in with this notion of, "Here's what we can do for you."
Right.
Um, but really like, what do you need from us?
Yeah, that
And
makes
how can
sense.
we do what's good for kids?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
That's my favorite thing about education because that is the, like, game, set, match, right?
Yep.
We're here for
Mhm.
kids. So that can always be the argument that beats all the other arguments, or can be the thing that recenters us all back where we are when the adult issues get in the way of what's best.
Mhm.
If we all just take a
Well, and I
deep
think
breath.
the other thing that you're really good at is if you don't know the answer, like you're going to say, I don't know the answer to
Mhm.
that. And I'm going to find the answer. So I just think being personable with people and being
Yes.
authentic with them is really important. And I just think if you're wrong, like you say, I messed up. And that makes you human to everybody, right? Like I just think
Oh,
that's really important
for
too.
sure. So, I mean, if I think about, yeah, I'm wrong. Well, I could think of multiple examples of times when I did things wrong, right? One that comes to mind is when I was district superintendent for recovery. Weather came in really late on a Sunday, and we were going to cancel the band contest or band concert. And I said, you know what? Let's just put it on social media. We're good. And so we did. And that's the only way we communicated
Oh,
it,
no.
right?
Oh,
Now there was a call that went out to the band's
to the
students,
kids. Yeah.
right? So their families knew, but there were grandparents
Oh,
that
Uh-huh.
happened
yeah.
to show up that or were gonna go, and that was like huge mistake.
Yeah.
Um, and so one of the parents the next week was said, "We really need to talk about this. Like, I'm not on social media." And so
Mhm.
to be honest enough about like the first words out of my mouth in that conversation were, "Yep, I messed this one up. I
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
And I apologize and that your parents went out in,
Yeah.
rotten weather, right? Because
Right.
I didn't think about how best to communicate this." So, it's interestingly enough, 2 years later, there was an issue with, one of their children, and we dealt with that beautifully. And I think that's a good example of like he knew at that point that he didn't take this personal. It wasn't personal. He trusted me because he
Mhm.
knew that
Mhm.
I was going to be honest in all situations.
Which kind
So,
of
Yeah.
makes, like, all your interactions kind of high stakes, right?
for
Because you
sure.
never know
Right.
when things are gonna circle back and they're gonna
Mhm.
remember, "Oh, I remember that woman and she did," versus, "Oh, I remember that woman and she took care of this," right? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and so no pressure, but it's kind of
Right.
important how you conduct your but then it becomes who you are, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so easy, right?
Uh-huh.
When it's just you're just honest and real and genuine.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So, Emily and I, we really like this question. What is a common mistake that leaders make when it comes to communication?
I've made lots of them. And so I
After we just
actually
talked about
have
mistakes, right? Like, and
exactly.
like owning
Uh-huh.
your
Yeah, this
mistakes.
was a nice lead in. So I mean, I kind of have a list of
Yeah, we're
things.
ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest ones is not being aware and being honest with yourself about your own bias as you enter a
Mhm.
conversation,
Mhm.
whether that's a conscious bias or an unconscious bias, but really checking that at the door,
Mhm.
so you can truly listen for understanding. So I think that's a pretty common mistake we all make, right? Is just allowing our own bias and not being truthful with ourselves about what we bring to the
And before you go on the
conversation.
next point,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever taken them. I've told Lindsay about them, but the Harvard implicit bias tests online where you can test your implicit, like, because implicit is obviously they're not in the forefront of your mind.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so I learned I actually have an implicit bias to tend to put women in more caretaking roles and men in more, and I would have said absolutely not. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
there were multiple biases that I would say absolutely not in the day to day, but to know that in the back of my mind that that's dictating some of my decisions. So if anybody's listening and you've never taken the Harvard implicit bias tests, they're really
Mhm.
good. There's for handicap, all different colors and religions, and
And
it's
it's free
it's
online.
free. You can
Okay.
just take them, go to town. They like flash quick images up, and you just do a simple left, right, good, bad, and the images are you don't have time to think, and so I think it just tracks your time and your clicks and your.
That is awesome.
It's really
And for
Yeah.
cool.
anyone that wants to improve their communication skills, what a
Uh-huh.
great awareness
And
tool.
if you're in
Mhm.
education, right? Because you could
Yes.
have kids, you're gonna have kids of
Yes.
Mhm.
all different varieties in your classroom, and it's not an indictment. You're not. It's
Sure.
not saying
Mhm.
anything.
Sure.
Those exist in all of us.
But it's good to know what that
What
is.
those are,
Because I was
yeah.
just gonna ask, like, how do you know what your bias
Right.
is?
You take
That
the
would be the
implicit
great
bias
yeah.
test.
There it is.
Anyway, sorry, but when you
No,
said that,
that's
I think that's such
perfect.
an important point.
That's an awesome tip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep. The other one I would say is people pleasing. So I think sometimes we find ourselves, especially I did, early on in my leadership career, like, well, I want to fix it, right? And I want to please them and I want it to be okay and I want them to be able to move forward. And so I think, people pleasing doesn't allow you to really realize your leadership potential. And
Mhm.
so don't people please.
And most of your decisions you make, don't you have to usually make somebody mad? Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like I feel
That's what I always think too. Like not everybody's going to be happy
Uh-huh.
with whatever decision you make, right?
I may have said this in another, I can't remember, but I reference Pat Niekamp a lot. So he was superintendent for recovery prior to me, and he was a really great mentor to me. And he says all the time, he's like, listen, at the end of the day, people want you to be decisive. They may not agree with the decision that you make, but as long as you have the why behind it, and you are decisive, people want you to be decisive when you're in a position of leadership. So
we actually
love
heard
that.
straight from a teacher's mouth once that I don't agree with everything this administrator does, but I always know what I need to do. And that's why this teacher loved working for that administrator. And you know what I mean?
Yes,
and
yes,
that has
yep.
stuck with me.
Yep.
Because it was a veteran teacher. So it stuck with me. I'm like, you've got to be
decisive.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I mean, people respect you at the end of the day. They may not agree, but they respect the fact that you are decisive. Like just say no. Sometimes you just have to say no.
Did you hear that?
Just say no.
Okay.
And
talked about
don't
this.
over explain your reason for saying no.
No
Because
is a complete sentence.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes. How many times have we heard that? And have we reminded each other of that? Right.
Yeah.
So I think we make that mistake a lot in communication because we dance around it. I think another big mistake is not responding in a timely manner. So nothing's more frustrating than sending an email or sending some correspondence and then you hear nothing back, right? And so even if you're not ready to answer, at least acknowledge receipt and say, I'll get back to you when. Or be mindful of how you communicate best. So like I don't love email as a communication tool for complex issues.
Yeah.
My response, so I might sit on it for a day or two and then I reply back in that email and say, hey, I've got some availability and list the times and say, can we have a conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk?
And we talk about I like to talk on the phone. But I do like things in my email because it's kind of my to-do list.
Sure.
So even if I have conversations, I'm like, can you email me with this, and this after this or whatever.
Actually, Lindsay likes to talk on the phone so much. And this is a story I've never shared on the podcast before. I think I've shared it with Lindsay. That one time my children's babysitter texted me. I think I was at a conference and she was worried that my husband was having an affair because my youngest was walking around pretending to talk on the phone. And my babysitter was like, who are you talking to? And she's like, Lindsay. So my babysitter texted me and was like, who's Lindsay? And I'm like, oh, that's my coworker. And she goes, I was nervous your husband was having an affair and talking on the phone to his girlfriend.
Lindsay.
Nope, just Lindsay.
Just
So now the kids get excited when it's on CarPlay and the phone starts ringing and it's Lindsay. They're like, oh, it's Lindsay.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Oh,
Those are the big ones for me.
Yeah,
in terms
I like
of
those. Okay. So I love this question because I was just telling them off the record that I quite literally have never had a hard conversation in my life because I'll just dance around that bad boy as much as I can. So what advice would you give a new leader who isn't sure how to start or propel or whatever a critical conversation?
Okay, so literally the first bullet says, don't dance around it.
I'm a good dancer though, Shelly.
I don't doubt that.
I'm good.
To all Taylor Swift songs.
That's right.
Yeah. And again, we've had said this to each other and reminded each other of this clear as kind.
Mhm.
So think about if you dance around it, it only exacerbates the problem. It makes the conversation more and more difficult to have. And truly, it's not respectful to the other person who you need to have that crucial conversation with. Because when we dance around those things, a month passes, a couple of months pass, a year pass, and then something happens that causes you to have that conversation. And boy, isn't it hard.
Well, then you're both full of resentment.
Sure. Like,
Mhm.
why weren't you honest enough with me
Mhm.
and respect me enough to have this conversation 6
Yeah.
months ago? So yeah, don't dance around it.
Okay. But I'm so okay. I always want someone to tell me different. Like, it's okay. You can go hide in a hole and just ignore it and
So
quit your
let's go
job.
back to the trust, right? Trust is the foundation of
Uh-huh.
all things. And we trust those people that are decisive and yeah,
What do you
honest.
think makes somebody good at it? Like, because I do think like Lindsay is very good at being direct and you're just good at it. Like, I envy it. Like she just walks in my office and goes, "We're going for a walk." And I'm like, "All right, we're going for a walk." I'd be like, "Do you think maybe if you don't have anything else to do, you might want to go for a walk with me?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is it a personality thing? Is it I don't want it to be personality because that seems like a scapegoat, right? Well, that's just the way I am.
I think it is because I think it's just opportunities to practice, right?
Uh-huh.
I wasn't, there were lots, again, we all make lots of mistakes, right? In all things. And I botched up communication and critical conversations plenty. I would say I still do, right? But
Did you ever dance in your life? Were you ever a dancer around?
oh, sure.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes me
early
feel
on-
better because there's
early
hope.
on. And I would say no, and I would say practice, right? So
Mm.
I mean, it was one of those that the first time you have that crucial conversation, and it tons of anxiety leading up to it, right? And tons of preparation for how am I going to do this, and how is it going to and then after it's finished and some time passes and you realize you can continue to work with that person in a way that's productive, and oftentimes it even deepens your relationship, right?
Mhm.
And then you have those experiences and you're like, this works.
Yeah.
It does
Mhm.
work. It's not just talk. It actually works. And so I think once you see it in action and you know that it's effective, I'm not going to say it becomes easier to do, but you understand why it's important to do.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
The world better watch out because once I start having critical conversations, I'm going to be unstoppable.
Watch out, everybody.
Let's go.
I'm sending the calendar invites tomorrow.
I'm probably number one on
Lindsay is number one.
That's
4
funny.
calendar invites.
um, so yeah, for sure. Don't dance around it is one piece. The second piece of information, I guess, advice I would offer to new leaders is confidence. Like confident communicators are comfortable hesitating, knowing that in a position of leadership, that doesn't mean you have to have all the answers and you have to answer right now. So confident communicators hesitate, and they're comfortable in doing so because they know
Mhm.
they don't have all the answers. And that demonstrates a lot of humility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's okay. It's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah. I like that.
I used to think that that was like a weakness for me, was not having an answer right away. But you just saying that, like, I'm like, it's okay to take a day or two and actually sit on it and think about it. And
Well, and then you don't have to backtrack and apologize for
Right.
mistakes you made haphazardly because you didn't act with all the information.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
did a lot more backtracking early in my career, for
Mm.
sure, because I made decisions too quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have this all figured out now. This is
Joke
a
of the
really
day.
good joke. And my favorite thing about joke of the day is every time I go, this is a really good joke. And then when we're done, everybody's like, that wasn't really
We
that
need a
great of a
sound effect.
joke.
Wah, wah.
Right.
Oh.
There we go. Come on.
It
Lindsay.
is totally like,
But not
which
today
one
because this is a
it?
good joke.
Okay.
Okay, Shelly,
Okay.
when is a door not a door?
When it's a window.
When it's a jar. That's a good one.
Oh, it didn't
It
even work.
didn't work. Our sound effects didn't work. And that's good because that was a good joke.